Okay, welcome to my MOAC 7412R2 lab. In this lab, we're focusing on configuring advanced file solutions. So essentially, we're going to be creating a NFS share. We're going to be looking at branch caching, using file classification, and configuring file access auditing. So we're going to need servers, our domain controller and server 1 and server 2 on, and they already are. Let's get started by logging into server 1. Once we're there, let's go ahead and add a role. We need to set up our NFS. I've noticed sometimes I go faster than the computer does, so I'm going to give it a second. All right, there we go. A basic role. We're adding it to server 1. We are looking for the file server. And we're looking for server for NFS. And on our features page, we're going to select clients for NFS. I'm going to restart if necessary and install. Okay, that installed fairly quickly. So let's go ahead and go to Tools. Let's go look at our NFS file server. So we're going to go down to, it did not like that at all. Okay, so I had to restart my machine and then it popped up. If it doesn't pop up, double check that the role was actually added. We're looking for services for network file system, NFS. And here we have our client and our server. We're going to go ahead and right click on our server. So we're going to right click on services for NFS. So we can actually set our Active Directory domain name. Our domain name is student.local. So make sure that is the appropriate for your environment. And then click OK. Okay, let's go and open up the File Explorer. We're going to set up a new folder on C drive. We're going to call this data. And go and right click on and properties. We're going to go NFS sharing. And we're going to go ahead and click on Manage NFS shares. And here we go. We're going to share this folder with data. We're going to use all of these. Check permissions. So all machines have read-only access and root access is disallowed. And so for right now, that is okay. So go ahead and close everything. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to installing and configuring branch caching. So that was a basic setup for our NFS share. We're going to go back to that in a little bit though. So we're going to add a role. We're adding it to server 1. We're adding under roles and under file and storage. We're adding branch caching for network. And this is a tricky one. It doesn't always work. And in our features, we're going to add branch caching. Okay, I'm going to restart if necessary. And I will let it install. Okay, it installed fairly quickly. So before I do anything here, I'm going to hop over to my domain controller. And I'm going to go ahead and log in. And I'm actually going to create a new Active Directory organizational unit. So tools, Active Directory users and computers. And underneath student, I'm going to create a new organizational unit. I'm going to call this servers. I'm going to move my server 1 and server 2 into servers. Okay, so now I can apply a GPO to that server's OU, and that policy should be applying to those two servers. So let's go ahead and open up our GPO editor, group policy management. We're going to expand out our domain. So we're going to expand out our forest, then our domain, and then our actual domain, student.local. Here we have our actual domains. And since we're going to probably be doing a lot more work here, I'm going to go next to my screen. That works out a lot better. Here's where the GPOs are actually located, and we're linking them up here. Notice the little shortcut arrow. So what we're going to do is we're going to right-click on the server OU, right-click, and we're going to create a GPO, and we're going to link it there. So we're going to call our new GPO branch cache for servers. And there we have our new GPO. And we're actually going to edit it. So right click and edit. Okay. I want to expand out the computer configuration, then policies, then administrative templates, then network. And under network, I want to LAN server. And you'll see we have hash publication for branch caching and hash version support for branch caching. And what we want to do is we want to double click hash publication for branch caching. We could read what it does. This policy specifics whether a hash generates services, generates hashes, also called content information, for data that's stored within this shared folder. And we actually want to enable it. We actually want to allow hash publication for all shared folders. And we want to go ahead and click OK. We're going to close out of our GPO. That should be saved. And there we've done a basic GPO and mapped it. Open up File Explorer one more time. Except this time we are on, let's hop over to server 1. We've already added our branch cache. Here, let's go to our File Explorer, C drive. We already have our data. Let's go ahead and create a new shared folder. Shared folder. Oh, if I spell it correct, shared folder. So now we have another shared folder. So let's go and right-click Properties. Let's go to Sharing. We aren't going to do an NFS share for this one just yet. We want to share this folder. So Advanced Sharing, share this folder. Okay, close. So we're sharing shared folder, and we're using an NFS share for data. So let's double check that. So let's open up our file manager, our server manager. Let's go to Tools, Computer Management. Let's go look at our shared folders. We're going to expand out shares. We have our shared folder, and that's correct. In the details pane, you can actually double check its folder options, or you can right click and go to properties, and that has its permissions set. We're going to be looking at the offline file settings. We can enable branch caching. So to ensure the only files and programs that use specific are available offline, and click on enable branch caching. Go and click OK, and OK. Give it a second, then close computer management. Let's go move over to our domain controller, and we're going to be editing our default domain policy. So hop over to our domain controller. We're going to be editing a new GPO. We're editing the domain policy. You notice we don't have that option. So if you don't have that option, that's because we don't have the correct permissions. I'm logged in as Art, which is my test user. So let's make sure Art is a domain administrator. Members of, I'm a administrator, not a domain admin. So, domain. I'm a domain admin now. And log off so that this takes effect. If you're not a domain admin, you cannot edit the default policies. Back to group policy management, and notice now we can now edit it. That's because only domain and enterprise admins can edit it. All other users can just read it. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to edit, and we want to expand out computer configuration, policies, administrative templates, networks, and branch caching. So policies, administrative templates, networking, branch caching. We have the ability to turn on branch caching and a few other things. So let's go and double click on set branch caching distribution cache mode. We want to go ahead and enable that one. And that's actually it for now. And actually, that is how we do a basic branch caching session. All right, so moving on, we're going to set up file classifications. Let's hop back over to server 1. And from here, let's go and open up our shared folder. Let's create a new document. And let's make it a new rich text document. And we're just going to call it doc1. So that's now my specialized Word document. So now let's go ahead, go back to Server Manager, because we want to set up some permissions so that we can classify that file. So Server Manager, click Manage, then Add Roles. Manage is up there or there, doesn't really matter. We want to role-based server role. We're doing it on server 1. We want to set up File Server Resource Manager. So it's under File Storage, under File and iSCSI, File Server Resource Manager. Add all of its features. and click Next. We're leaving the features alone and install. Should only take a second. Once it installs, let's go ahead and actually open up our file server resource manager. That way we can start setting some classifications. All right, that just took a second. So let's go to Tools. Let's open File Server Resource Manager. Here we go. And so we can do things like quota management, filtering, storage reports. We can do all kinds of stuff with this. Let's go ahead and expand out classification management. And you'll notice we have a classification properties and a classification rule. So let's go ahead and click on classification properties. And you'll notice these are our current policies. Let's go and right click classification properties. Let's create a local property. We actually want to go to the general tab, which it's loaded by default. And we're going to call this file class. And it's going to be a yes or no. And that's fine. Click OK. So we just create our new file classification, yes or no. And we're going to go to classification rules. We're going to go and right click on it. And we're going to create a new classification rule. Under rule name, we want to call it class rule. And we're going to leave it enabled. We're going to go over to scope. We're going to click on the add button. And we're going to set up our shared folder. C drive share folder. Click OK. Next, we're going to go to classifications. And we actually want to set a folder classifier. So choose a method for assigning properties. We want it based off a folder classifier. From there, under the properties, we can do file class, because that's our property to assign. And we're going to go the value, specific value, yes. And go ahead and click on. Before we click OK, let's do evaluation type. We want to reevaluate. And the aggregate value should already be selected. And it is. So there are aggregate values down there, and that's OK. So go ahead and click on OK now. In the File Resource Manager under Actions, click on Run Classification with all rules now. So Actions, Run Classification with all rules now. Run the classification. We actually want to go ahead and wait for it to complete. Should only take a second. And it should give us a report. If we had more data folders, we'd actually be getting more things, but it actually classified our doc1 based off of our rule set. And that's actually it for that part. Let's do one more thing. Let's go and configure file access auditing. Let's close out of all of this. Let's hop over to our domain controller. And let's go ahead and open up our group policy manager. We actually want to expand out the domain controllers, and we want to edit out the default domain controller policy. So we can do it up here, or we can do it down here. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and edit it. Let's go ahead and expand out computer, configuration, policies, Windows settings, From Windows settings, security settings, advanced auditing, towards the bottom, not alphabetical. Audit policies, and we want to click the audit policy. And this is what we should get. We actually want to click the object access. There we go. Double click it. And we can actually now edit the audits there. On the audit file system, we want to configure the following audit events. So audit file system, properties, we want to configure it for success and failure. Click OK, close our GPO, and we should be good. Now let's go ahead and navigate over to server 1, and let's open up our File Explorer, and let's go to our shared folder, and from our shared folder, don't go into it, actually go to its security properties. We can see our properties. We're going to click on Advanced. Let's go ahead and click on Auditing, and you'll know there is no auditing there yet. So we can actually click on Add. We're going to select a principal. We're going to add domain users as our principal. Check name to verify. And what we want to do is we want to set the type to all, so both success and failure. And we're going to go ahead and leave it at the rest as OK. And OK again. Oh, I clicked OK one too many times. Let's go back to it. After you set the auditing, we need to make sure that it trickles down. So double check the replace all child object auditing entries with the inherited ones. That's what we want. Click apply and OK. That way they'll trickle down. And let's go ahead and do a GP update. So from the command line, do GP update /force. And that way it can force GP update from our policies that we just created. I like to do it twice just to make sure. Just take another second. All right, that should be fine. Let's go back to our shared folder. Let's delete our doc1. Now that it's gone, that should have actually set up a log file. So let's double check. Let's go to our tools and event viewer. Let's go ahead and expand out our Windows logs. And it should be under the security log. And you'll notice it did not log the deletion yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of all of this. I'm going to restore my document. Sometimes GP updates don't always work the best. So I'm going to sign out. I'm going to sign back in. That way, the GPO should force a reset that way. All right, now that I'm logged back in, I'm going to go back to my shared folder. I'm going to delete my Word document. And I'm going to go back to the event viewer to see if it showed a it is not shown yet. Even though we said to allow the audit, sometimes it actually still does not show up. And if it doesn't show up, it's okay. But in a real working environment with plenty of time for the GPO to actually get over here, then it should actually uh, display it. Okay, I even tried waiting a little bit and restarting, and the log still never showed up, so that at this part's not that important. I want to thank you and hope you have a great day.